Right, I've been wanting to do this review for a while now, and that's kind of obvious being that I've had this computer for about 5 months now. In fact, I think it is actually 5 months since I bought this. It is the Toshiba Libretto 70CT netbook, and it is extremely small. Like, here's a manual for a compact Presario, and it is in fact bigger. If I can find something. Right, here's a slimline PS2. It's bigger, and it's almost as thin, but the screen just beats it on thickness. However, it's very, very handy. In fact, I still use this daily, or I take it to school and do work on it if I need to, because it runs Word, and it's very helpful in fact, because it's not like nowadays netbooks where if you want something this size, it's only going to have that really limited Windows CE operating system. So it's very handy because it has Windows 98 2nd edition on it and runs all the Office programs like Word and PowerPoint, and also can run some of my really favourite retro games like Doom, Quake, like the Oddworld games. It runs all of them fine. With the exception of the Oddworld games, I need to get the actual sound driver for the computer because it's currently using one that uses a little bit more memory. So if I find the actual one on the internet, the games will run fine, because the reason I don't have all the official drivers is because I swapped out the hard drive and put in a better one, so in fact it's been super upgraded. The specs of it, well, let's look at the ports first. Got the charger thing, the tiny little reset button which you can't press with your finger because it's actually like further inside the computer. You have to get like a pencil to click it. You got a PCMCIA card, got a dummy card that fits in there like that. However, I'm not going to put this in there because it gets quite hot when this is in there, so I'm going to leave that out. And one unfortunate thing is this is not card bus, so I can't plug in my Netgear adapter for usage on this computer because it doesn't support it. They have this gold strip that this computer doesn't like. And well, the good thing is it is a 32-bit, so it'll run most ones, but just not the ones with the gold strip, which is the most common. So it makes it extremely hard to find like PCMCIA cards actually fit in it. On the back we have the little ejector for said cards that go in that slot. Just eject it. You got a little, it's not headphones, it's some sort of like speaker jack because it has a picture of a speaker, but it's not headphones because I tried plugging in, it's slightly too small. Probably wondering what that is. That's infrared, but the little plastic cover came out when I was opening the computer and I forgot to put it back in when I was assembling it again. I had quite a bit of trouble with this computer and I'll go into that later. You got nothing over here, and you're wondering what these are. They're little screws for the docking station it comes with. I call it docking station, it's technically not because it doesn't contain any like floppy drives or CD drives inside it, so it's technically not a docking station, but it's similar. It's a port replicator. There's nothing on this side except this is the hard drive cover. You can see you take off these two screws and you've got the hard drive. Now the specs of this thing, it originally comes with 1.6 gigabytes of hard drive space, which I've taken out that hard drive and plugged in a 40GB Fujitsu one that I had lying around, and just plugged it in there and it works fine. But one thing you have to make sure is you have a spare laptop, because, well, a spare laptop or a IDE reader, because this computer's BIOS doesn't recognise external CD drives. It only recognises the floppy drive, so you can only install Windows 95. You can either do the long way, where you install Windows 95 via the floppies with the official floppy drive, or, well, the floppy drive and then use the Windows 98 upgrade CD and then upgrade it that way, or you take out the hard drive, plug it into IDE reader or a separate laptop and install 98 straight onto it and then plug it back in, which is what I did, because I don't have Windows 95 on floppy disks and I also don't have a Windows 98 upgrade CD, so that would be out of the question. Other specs include a 75MHz Pentium MMX, but on some parts of it sometimes says 133 MHz. I'm not sure what that's about. The website references the processor being 133 MHz, but the processor itself and the website tells you that the processor is in fact 75 MHz. So I don't know where it's getting this 133 MHz from. I've heard you can overclock this computer to 200 MHz, but I would assume it would get extremely hot, because it's like 125 more megahertz on the motherboard, and that tends to get a little bit hot. And in fact, that's probably why they underclocked it to 75 in the first place. You know, that's probably why, because the website says 133 megahertz, and I've heard news about them actually being underclocked to 75, probably because of heat on this computer, and especially on the dummy card that might have been included. I didn't get one with mine, so I just took out a spare one, because the laptop that this was in had so many problems with it, it wasn't even worth trying to fix it, so I just took it apart, shoved the hard drive in there, shoved this in there, and the DVD drive was broken in that, so I just threw it away. There's nothing else. Actually, I've got the card bus port off it, and I'm trying to mod that into this thing's docking station. Now, I keep calling it docking station. It's technically called a port replicator, so I have to remember that. And also the smaller one is called an I/O adapter. I have them. I'll just get them out now. So I have this giant tray full of goodies to do with this computer and just general storage. Here's that card bus port I was on about. You can see it's a card bus port. You can plug it into the docking station if I actually manage to get the regular port out, because you know, when something's stuck in a computer or machine shoved in for about 15 years, it tends to get a bit difficult to take it out, and that's exactly what's happened there. So I'm going to have to find a tool that can actually take the thing out, because I can't do it by hand. It's so stiff. None of my friends can do it either. It's so stiff. Here's a card that won't work. Well, the card itself works, I know that, because I tested it in another computer and it worked. However, it has this gold strip, so it won't work in the Libretto, because the Libretto doesn't support card bus, and that's why I have that port. And that's why I want to put it in the dock in there, so it can go on the internet. Although it'll probably be extremely slow, because it's only got 32 megabytes of RAM. I forgot to mention that. Libretto comes with 16 megabytes of RAM, but mine's been upgraded to 32, and if yours has 16 megabytes of RAM, good luck finding another 16 megabyte RAM module, because the kind of RAM it takes is a proprietary connector, and you can only get official Libretto ones. There are no like other types. It's a specific RAM connector. It hasn't got any SIMs. It's literally just like a plug it in. It's not one that you slot in, it's one that you have to push down into it. It's got like a plug and a port. And in fact, Port is the name of the company that made the CD-ROM drive that I have, and I actually have the installation guide for it. Although you don't need an installation guide because you literally just plug it in, plug it in, and then it just automatically installs the drivers because it uses generic CD-ROM drivers. So you don't really need it. And I also have this Port customer service card and a Port warranty card. You can see. Please fill out and return to Port so we can send you updated information regarding your Port product. Although I never did that because I got this like in January, so being that it's 2012 and this CD drive was manufactured in something like 1996 and 97, I don't think Port actually exists anymore. And in fact, this CD drive right here, by them, it's in fact made by so many different companies. Like, literally, you can get the same CD drive just with a different badge on it. It's been rebranded like 5 times. It's got like Targus, Port, like I think there's actually a Sony one that's exactly the same as this, but I think the official company that makes these is technically Targus. And it has this weird connector on it. This thing, I've only known it to go in the CD drive, and you got some sort of switch inside there and an external power port, which I don't have anything for. And this has a headphone jack, but it doesn't seem to work. I have no idea how to get it to work. And if you're looking for a CD drive or anything to connect to Libretto, make sure it doesn't have the gold strip like this one doesn't. This one works because it has no evil gold strip. So take that out. We've got the installation guide for the Netgear wireless card, the CD for the Netgear wireless card, Restore CD. As you can see, these are a bunch of floppy disks I got with the computer because the guy I bought it from on eBay just decided to include them, and they had all the drivers on them, although now they don't because I foolishly erased them without backing them up. Although I did back them up, but they're on the other hard drive and I can't be bothered to get them off. So that's just me being lazy. You got a instant wireless network PC card by Linksys. This works, however it only supports web encrypted password protected routers, and my one is the new standard WPA2, and I'm never going to put it on web because it's actually been proven that web is extremely easy to hack, and there are so many programs out there in order to hack it that I'm not going to ever put it on there in case my neighbours ever try. Although my neighbours are like 60 years old, so I don't think they are going to try. But you know, never can be too sure. My router has an extremely large range anyway, but it still seems to suck. It's a Virgin Super Hub if you're wondering. It sucks really bad. This is the card ejector for the large port, well, the large port replicator. Yeah, it just ejects cards, and the reason I took it out was because I'm going to install the card bus port into it, and of course I have to take this out first in order to get to it. We got a large battery, a very large battery for Libretto. These are very, very good. I can't suggest anymore to buy these if you have a libretto. In fact, they're so good, I have two. So each of them are 5 hours, even on full. They're 5 hours on max CPU usage and full brightness. And I haven't even tried them on low brightness or low CPU usage, so I'd imagine they're really, really long batteries. And I've got two of them, so 10 hours max if I got both of them charged and used them. Here is the small I/O adapter I was talking about, and it contains 3 extra ports. Also it has that proprietary connector on the bottom of the libretto I didn't mention. It has serial, or RS-232 I think, that's the technical name, VGA port. It's good for connecting it to external monitors. I've actually had this hooked up to a projector at school before, and it looked very cool, and it was funny to see the Windows 98 boot screen on like a monitor that was the size of a wall. It was kind of funny, I can just say that, just to see 15-year-old technology connected to something that's only like 1 year old and shows on an absolutely giant scale. Here is the printer port, although I don't have a printer that connects to this port. My printer is in fact wireless, and the only other way to connect it is USB. So this is this port in fact is useless, and I don't have anything for the serial either. Here is the official floppy drive. This works, and in fact I do use it on other computers that don't have a floppy drive. Yeah, it's just a 3.5 inch or 3.25 inch, I can't remember. It's just a floppy drive kit, and there's some sort of model number, and their obsession with putting PA in the front and then U on the last bit. I don't know. It connects without one of the gold strips is all I know. And I'm dropping everything. Here's some charger tips for a car adapter I have, and it connects to the libretto so I can use it in the car if I need to charge it. Here's I don't even know why I have this in here, because it's not anything to do with the libretto, it's just a micro SD, mini SD and regular SD card reader that goes to a USB stick. It's very handy. Here's a bloody old MP3 player. Some piece of metal that came out of the card port in the big dock, and here it is. This one's technically called a port replicator, in fact. Yep, enhanced port replicator. Well, I don't actually know where the standard one is, because I'd never heard of it, or did it ever exist. Another serial port, PS2 keyboard, VGA printer again, and PS2 mouse. And in fact, another card port, and you can see it right down there. That's the card port that's extremely stiff to get out. So I can't get it out right now. Well, I'm going to put all this stuff back in and see you in a moment. Right, all that stuff's back away, and I forgot to mention this very nice case that I got included with the libretto when I bought it off the guy on eBay. Just cool. It's 15 years old and is a case. So I can say. And the battery seems to be shining an orange light. Is that it finished charging? I'll just quickly take out this battery. It was just to show off how small it is with that battery, because I actually want it to charge up the large one. So be right back when I swap them. Well, here is the libretto with the large battery installed. It just has a little bit here. And it stopped making that little orange light flash. I have no idea what that was. I unplugged the charger and it was still doing it. I don't know. I have no idea what it was doing. Well, it's time to open the thing. That's what it looks like opened. A very, very large screen for its size. It actually goes right down to the hinge. It's a 6.1 inch TFT active matrix display. Yes! No crappy, ghosty, passive matrix display like on the old Toshiba satellites. Yes, so in fact this was much more expensive back in the day, just because the screen was much higher quality. So you had no crappy ghosting effect when you moved the mouse around, which was nice. Well, the satellites that had that ghosting tend to be ones that ended in CDS. If you wanted one with an active matrix display, it was CDT and would have been more expensive. You can see the Pentium sticker is still on this computer. However, the Energy Star logo that was supposed to be here, and the Windows design for Windows 95 sticker that was supposed to be there, is gone. I got it like that. I don't know if the guy had it like that or he took him off. Don't know. All that I like is the fact it's still got the Pentium sticker on there. I'm going to keep it on there because it's cool. Little Toshiba logo. One thing I must mention about this computer is the absolute tiny keyboard. And I think I have a key to demonstrate. I don't know if I do. Hang on. Yes, I did. I had this X key that came off of my main computer. It just kind of, well, a CD fell off the rack and kind of chipped this key out, and I can't put it back in because one of the tiny little connectors is missing off it. Yeah, well, here's the keyboard on this computer. Here's one key on this. You can just see the size comparison. That is a standard laptop key, and it's taking up roughly 4 keys on this keyboard, and not to mention the bloody absolutely tiny function keys at the top there. Look how small those are. They are absolutely tiny, and it's not very convenient trying to press them because they're softer as well. And there's a little Windows key, look, the enter key. I do like the design of the keyboard though, the way that this main bit's all whitish, it's slightly grey, so no yellowing here because it's not completely white, it's a sort of greyish colour. And you got the dark grey keys right here. I love that design, I really do, and it's the same on some of my other computers. Here is the strangest thing on this computer. Yes, this has an eraser head mouse, however it's been positioned on the screen itself, which is very cool and strange. So it means you can actually, it's very handy for playing games like Doom, because you can have your hand here, and in fact you've got the screen mounted buttons as well, so you can left click and right click. So it's really handy to play Doom. You can have your joystick here and then control your characters moving like strafe here, like WSD. So this works kind of like a joystick. It's very cool. Like, I really approve of that. And Z Doom works on this computer perfectly. Well, you have to have it on the lowest resolution, but it still works on the screen. You can see everything. Screen's perfect for the display. There's no ghosting. It just looks brilliant, in fact. Absolutely love that display. And biggest gripe is the fact that the power button, when it's on, it just doesn't want to turn off the computer if it's on. So if you have this power button, like when the computer's on, this power button is not hard shut down. It in fact hibernates the computer. And that's a very big downside. I don't like it one bit, because the hibernation, once you turn the computer back on, the hibernation in fact seems to crash the computer, so you lose all your work if it hibernates. So make sure your battery is fully charged before you want to do any work. That's my biggest gripe. I hate that. Always hate it. And that's all I can say about it, really, except the fact that Toshiba's continues their tradition with the fact you can lift this bit up, unscrew that little bit on the keyboard, and access the main RAM section of it. That's about it for the Libretto 70CT mini note